African Safari Wildlife Park is a wild experience with over 800 exotic animals. Our drive-through safari features giraffes, zebras, deer, elk, alpacas, and even a white bison, all of which you can feed right from your vehicle. Walk on the wild side with the Zoo-It-All Pass and feed kangaroos, porcupines, tortoises, and rabbits. Step into our aviary adventure and hand-feed budgies for a memorable experience. Check out our live educational shows or ride a camel. Create memories that will last a lifetime at the Ohio Safari Park, African Safari Wildlife Park in Port Clinton.
Well, happy Monday, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the morning show right here on Main Street TV. And Jennifer here, of course, to start off Monday with our good friend, not Pete Wilson.
No, Filbert Buffington.
Filbert, is it really Filbert?
No, it's not.
Oh.
It's not.
Thank God, because I'm laughing. No, but Phil is here. Pete is out of the office celebrating, we believe, his anniversary with his significant other better half.
Yes.
Yes. They're partying somewhere.
Yes.
Yes. So, Mr. Phil took time out of his busy schedule to come up and do the morning news update, and we appreciate that very much.
No problem.
Thank you. And you haven't been here in a long time.
No.
So shame on you.
They stow me away downstairs. They let me come out sometimes.
Jeez. Well, we're so happy to have you back here on the show. And you do have some definite news stories to go over. We had some fun stuff that happened over the weekend. We had, Pig Iron Day. Justin Gambino was at the Marquee.
Yeah.
So some other fun things like that. Don't say you don't have anything to do. I saw this morning that some of the West Virginia schools went back to school today.
Wow, really?
I'm like, it is
What, the 9th today?
the 9th of August.
That's way too soon. I'm old enough to remember not going back to school until after Labor Day.
Labor Day, yeah. I don't know. It just seems like a little bit weird to me, but I don't know if they get a big break somewhere, like maybe
Maybe they get a longer spring break or something.
maybe. I don't know, but that just seems awfully early to me
Yeah.
and hot.
Yeah.
But anyway, so how you been?
I've been okay. Been busy.
Yeah, so you moved to the booming metropolis of Athens.
Yeah. Yep. We're right there on the skirts, on the outskirts. We're actually in Alexander Township, I think, but it's right there before you get in. So we're close enough to be
Are you
able
close
to go
to-
in
Yeah.
easily, but also not so close that I have to hear drunk college kids all the time.
Well, you're on the Jackson end of Athens, if
Yeah,
you will. Like you're
yeah.
so, but are you close to Taco John's?
Oh, I am close to Taco John's. Taco Jonathan's, as I like to call it.
That makes it sound way more official.
It's very classy.
Taco John's has been there for, I don't know, 7,000 years, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been there a long time.
Jamie was telling me he could remember like being a little kid and going there with his dad. So that was, he said it was always a treat back then.
I hit it up sometimes.
Do ya?
Yep.
Is it? I've never been there. Is it kind of like Taco Bell, but?
It's like everything has potatoes in it. So it's almost
What?
Yeah, it's like almost everything has potatoes in it. It's like an American style Mexican food. Like their burritos will have like tater tots. I think everything comes with tater tots. As like
Does
the
it?
side, yeah. So,
Jenna's agreeing. So.
Yeah. A lot of American cheese sauce and potatoes, which is a very authentic Mexican dish, obviously. But
Yes.
no, it's
Sure.
it's an American Mexican hybrid.
Okay. Well, they must be doing something right. They've been there a long time.
They're always
so.
packed.
That's like, I will give those folks that have Casa del Taco credit. They survived Taco Bell. They've survived all of the restaurants going into Chillicothe, and there's still a line clear out to the street. So
Yeah.
good for them.
Yep.
I have no idea how I got on that, but anyway. No, I have to appreciate places that have been around that long. Like, that's pretty cool to survive.
Yeah.
So, well, you have brought up some news stories, and you've been covering some things since Pete's been away partying.
Yeah.
Do you think
Living
they're partying?
I don't know. I mean, they do tend to live their best lives, so they could be. They very well could be. They could be recovering from last night right now, for all I know.
Could be. So what the heck happened over the weekend that's newsworthy? Because there's always something crazy that goes on.
Well, before Pete took off, he covered the Pig Iron Day, the annual event. Did they have one last year? I'm thinking that they didn't.
I don't know. Yes, they did.
Okay.
They did. Because they did. I remember they did a drive up.
Yeah.
They did it like where you could drive up. So, yes, they did. Because yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought so, but anyway, this has been going on since the early 1990s.
I think I was there for the first one.
Back when Tom Evans was the mayor, he was one of the people that got it started.
That was one of those days where Dad handed me a microphone and said, I need someone to go cover something. And I said, I don't really know how to do that. And he said, just go. It was one of those, yeah.
Yeah.
This is how you turn on the equipment.
Yeah.
Go talk to people.
It had pretty good weather. It was pretty hot. But as always, like I said, it was the brainchild of former Mayor Tom Evans.
It was.
And it was founded to be a low-cost, family-friendly summertime event that appeals to all ages. And it, of course, is a throwback to one of the city's bigger industries back then, which was, pig iron.
Sure.
And the pig iron furnace industry, which is obviously no more. But both the plaques and the pig irons that they produce there are now produced and donated by OSCO right here in Jackson.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. It always has the bean dinner. That's always a staple. They have a car show, and then they sell the commemorative plaques and the pig irons. Mm-hmm. And I think they even hand some of those out, don't they, for free? The pig irons?
I think they do.
They always used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for the longest time I had one from
like
every
the
year.
little block,
Yeah.
little blocks. Yeah.
So
make good paperweights, or
Yeah.
if you're mad at somebody, you just wing them at them. Good for a good black eye.
Yep.
Weapon.
Yeah, good weapon.
I'm kidding.
So the Jackson Firefighters Association, they organize and conduct the event with the assistance.
Thanks.
Oh, there's one. There's a pig iron. Is that from this year?
It's from
That's
2007.
From 2007. And I remember there were a few that were gold collared. Do you remember those?
No.
Yeah, there was a couple of years where they switched it up, and they were not real gold, I'm sure, but they did have.
If they were, that would be good. That has
Yeah.
tape on it. There we go. This is from the 14th year, 2007.
That's what it's all about. And I think Jenna has some pictures from this Saturday's event.
They are heavy.
They are.
It's crazy. There, now my paper won't fly away.
Yeah. So.
There's a car show.
Yeah, there's the annual car show. And this is down at Manpower Park, obviously. And like I said, the bars and the plaques are donated each year.
Is that the bean kettle?
It is. That was early in the morning, and Pete went down to get some of the ambiance. But every year they have donated plaques, and this year 3 plaques were honoring the limestone furnace and Cornelia furnace. And the auction was capped off with the sale of a bourbon barrel produced and donated by Speyside here in Jackson. Mm-hmm. And keeping with the tradition, 1 donated plaque and 1 each of the furnace plaques were donated to the Lillian Jones Museum, which will be kept as part of its permanent collection.
Yeah.
So we had that going on. That's always fun.
A lot of people, if you don't know Jackson's history, that's how we came to be. And it was a pretty wealthy town because, well, I guess we had salt too, way back when.
And apple orchards.
Yeah, apples and, but the fiery pig iron furnaces, like where Walgreens sets was the Globe Iron, I believe, and the furnace was across the street, like where beside Wendy's, and a lot of people don't, unless you're older, you don't remember those actually being in operation and whatever. So kind of a neat thing that's our history and our heritage to keep that alive. I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, it is. Another thing that we haven't run this story yet, but I've been talking with John Moore, the owner and operator of Cardo's Pizza here in Jackson.
Uh-huh.
And he, right now, along with his wife Jenny, are seeking the support of the public. They are attempting to upstart what is known as Truth Sports, which is a Christian youth sports ministry that's based right here in Jackson. They are currently trying to develop 6 acres of land along McCarty Lane into an outdoor athletic facility. And they are looking to begin this fall with youth soccer. And in addition to that, they will have flag football, cheerleading, and into the future, they're hoping to maybe expand out into like t-ball and maybe lacrosse even.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah. So it's a nonprofit organization. They were formerly involved with the First Baptist Church in Jackson.
Yes.
But they've branched out onto their own now. And they are tied in with a 501c3 known as 146 Corporation. And the 3 board members there are John, Jenny, and Justin Oyer from Warriors for Christ.
Okay.
So any donations made to True Sports in their endeavor to develop this land is tax deductible. So that's a bonus for everybody. They're looking for prayers, volunteers, donations, anything to help get this thing underway. So their long-term plan, like I said, is once they get this all developed, is to have up to 6 soccer fields and 4 flag football fields. And as it's a Christian youth sports ministry, aside from teaching people the fundamentals of the sport, they're also trying to spread the word of Jesus Christ, which is always a good thing. If you want to help, they do have a website. It is truthsports.fun. And John has...
.fun?
.fun.
Never heard that one before.
Yeah.
How
Yep.
cool.
So they want to provide a positive atmosphere and positive role models for these kids, and it's for kids ages kindergarten through 6th grade.
Okay.
And anybody that wants to help, visit truthsports.fun, or you can give John a call at 740-395-4464, and he would be more than happy.
Or you can just
to
go
hear
in
that you're
Cardo's and
involved. Yeah.
probably find him there too.
He's always there from about 11 to 2 during that lunch hour rush. He's there.
No, I think that what a cool idea, and to have this complex where the kids can go and be safe and be positive and learn something, and it's just really, I don't know, when he was talking about it the other day when he was in here, and I was just like, oh, that's such a good idea. I'm so proud of him for thinking about that.
That's quite a bit of land they have, and they got that from Phil Bowman and his family, and he worked with them and did them a pretty big solid with that, to help make this a possibility. So he did want to give Phil Bowman a big shout out, along with the people from the First Baptist Church in Jackson, which is from where they grew.
Yeah, that used to be what, Upward, I think it was called,
yeah.
Upward, yeah.
Yep.
So, no, I think that's a fantastic idea. And there's so many kids that want to be involved in stuff, and maybe they just don't have the opportunity or whatever. This would be so good.
And I think they said they can accommodate, or they plan to be able to accommodate, between 200 and 300 kids. And there will be a small entry fee involved. They're not sure about exactly how much that's going to be yet, but there will be some sort of a cost involved.
This isn't a for-profit endeavor. It's a not-for-profit. It's just to help kids.
Mm-hmm. And just to keep the program going. They're not going to, they're not out to make a buck off of this. So.
Yeah.
And completely off topic, but right now,
as we segue to,
I've been following this since it came out. It hasn't really made a lot of progress yet, but there's currently a bill at the committee level in the Ohio legislature centered on bail reform in Ohio. Currently, our cash bail system is based on, the amounts are based on the severity of the crime allegedly committed.
okay.
So if you commit, a first-degree misdemeanor, it's X amount of money. It really depends on the judge and the prosecution getting together and deciding, this person's criminal history and the severity of the crime involved, like I just said. And then a cash bail amount is set, and it's usually then 10% of that can be paid in cash, or you can use like real estate to stand as collateral for your bail to get out. But right now, there's a House Bill 315. It was introduced in mid-May, and it's currently with the House's Criminal Justice Committee. And it proposes a number of changes to the bail system, but for the most prominent change would be a move away from the crime determining what the bail amount would be, and it would be then based on the offender's monthly income minus their expenses per month. So the sponsors of this bill, it's a Republican and a Democrat representative. They basically said that the current bail system is almost like a wealth loophole, where if you have copious amounts of money, then you're almost immune to having to spend any time in jail, because you could just immediately post the bail and go home, and then you wait in the comfort of your own home until you have to go to trial. Whereas
Okay.
somebody who's poor is going to be stuck in jail almost indefinitely throughout the entire process, and then will probably continue on into jail or prison after the court proceedings are finalized. So in addition to basing that off the monthly income less the monthly expenses, it also requires a court, if an accused person is detained after arrest, to make a preliminary pretrial release decision no later than 24 hours after the arrest. So they're trying to expedite this process to, if a cash bail is set, to make sure that somebody doesn't, like I said, spend an indefinite period of jail time during the court proceedings, because sometimes it can take over a year before anything even gets started. in
Right.
court.
And you're just sitting there.
Right. So
Wow,
like I
this
said,
is interesting.
it's a lot of people are behind it, but of course there are a lot of people against it, like with anything. But as I'm working on the story, I'm going to reach out to some of our local judges to see what they think, because I think
Yeah.
at the top of the list of the complaints for especially a small county court like what we have here in Vinton County, which is even smaller, is the amount of manpower and time it will take to initiate a pretrial release conference within 24 hours of someone being arrested. I mean, people are arrested all the time.
Right. And it's a notorious problem over the weekend because, nobody's
Yeah.
around.
Mhm.
And then what do you do?
Exactly. So there's
You
a
have
lot.
to call a judge in to,
That's happened a lot. That's happened many times already. So that would only increase the burden on an already, overworked staff.
Sure.
So I'm going to reach out to, actually the reason why I even got started with this is a phone call from our common police court judge, Judge Regan.
Uh-huh.
So I'm still waiting to get his comments and his thoughts, and I'll probably reach out to all the judges here to get an understanding of how they feel about this. Of course, this is barely off the ground in the legislature, and I think there's a partner bill with this in the Senate. I think it's Senate Bill 182. But they're both at the committee level, so there's a long way to go with this.
Sure.
We'll see where it goes. But I thought that was interesting. And it's been a while since anything was done to reform the bail system in Ohio.
I guess it's like, I don't know. You think, I can see all this, it's all bouncing around my head, but, you go out and murder someone and you're poor, so you get out of jail, I don't know. It's just I'm thinking of it the opposite way of
Yeah.
everyone else is thinking.
I think more
I
than
guess.
anything,
But I see where they're coming from, too.
Yeah. I can see both sides of the argument. The two main sponsors of the bill, Representative Brett Hillier and Representative David Leland, in their written testimony for the proposed bill, they basically said that cash bail does not make us, the public, any safer. It allows wealthy people who may be dangerous to purchase their freedom and commit new crimes. Under our legislation, we expand the provisions of Ohio law that allow for preventative pretrial detention when people are arrested for serious crimes. That means we will stop the ruse of setting a high bail amount for people who are dangerous and hoping that protects us. And more than anything, it levels the playing field for everybody. Everybody comes in
Yeah.
as an equal.
Well, there can be no bail set, too, right?
True.
I mean,
Yeah. If the crime is serious enough and you can get all the parties to agree that it's a necessity to have the person detained, then you can be held without bail.
you're not going to let Hannibal Lecter out on,
Right.
bail. You're
Right.
going to try to keep him locked up.
Yeah.
Not that we have one of those around here that we know of. Hopefully
yeah,
not.
I hope not. But it does specify too that, you know, that 24-hour mark that I mentioned earlier. There are longer periods of allowed time of being in jail, depending on the crime. Like if you're in there for domestic violence, for instance, then they up that by, you know, another 24 or 48 hours.
Okay.
So, you know, in a situation like you mentioned earlier, you get arrested on a Friday night,
Yeah.
then you can stay in there until Monday until the judge comes back.
Okay. For certain things.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
It still kind of depends on the crime, but they're trying to hurry along the process of determining whether or not this person needs to be locked away or whether or not they can go. And I think that basing it off of somebody's income, it does level that playing field quite a bit.
Yeah.
And whether or not this goes, who knows? And whether or not it comes out looking anything like what it does right now,
Probably not.
not.
The I mean, I think the people that you need to talk to are the people in law enforcement and the judges, and you know, those are the ones that should be having the say or making the decision on that, because
Yeah.
they live it on a daily basis.
Yep. And I've worked in the court system. I know how tedious it already is. So any time that they propose something that makes it even more so, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to imagine.
Yeah.
And as is always the case down here in Southern Ohio, it's not exactly the same as what it's going to be in Cuyahoga County or Franklin County. So I hope that people take that into consideration as well. Also, at the state level, there was this thing's been going on for years now, but the national opioid settlement finally came to a conclusion on July 21st.
Can you back up and talk about that for a minute? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how did that what are we talking about here?
I think it was back in 2017 that the notion of state governments and local governments having the option of filing suit against, namely the three big pharmaceutical companies, which, let me find their names here, I have them written down. It was McKesson, Cardinal Health, and AmerisourceBergen. Those are the three main pharmaceutical supply chain companies.
Okay.
And this is chiefly involving opioid medications and the overprescription of those medications, especially down here in this part of the state. So they opened the floor for attorneys general to file on behalf of the state, and then allowed smaller local governments to join in on more or less a class action lawsuit against these companies to hold them accountable for their misfeasance, malfeasance, nonfeasance, whatever.
So, I guess I'm a little confused why it's the pharmaceutical company's fault.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't it be a doctor's fault?
Well,
Or,
they found that it was in part due to malpractice on part of some of these doctors, but they can only write what's available. And these three pharmaceutical companies were found to have been mass producing these pain medications, and the only reason to do that is to,
to sell them as drugs,
exactly.
not
And
to actually be used for the use that they're intended.
yeah, and if you had a certain clientele that were, only supposed to get this certain type of drug, then why are you producing enough for everybody in the country to have, 100 of them?
I see.
So, yeah.
Well, there's no doubt there's a problem out there. I mean, if you don't think there's a problem with pills and a whole lot of other stuff, you're sadly mistaken. And, good for you that you're living in blissful ignorance. But, yeah, it's out there, especially in our area and some parts of Appalachia and whatever. So there was a lawsuit filed then.
And this involves any and all states throughout the country.
That's
And
what I was going to ask, if it's a national thing or a
Yeah.
state,
It's
Ohio thing.
it's a national thing. Now, in Ohio, we have a memorandum of understanding that got started back in, I think it was 2017, 2018, called One Ohio. And that is just for the state and the local governments through our Attorney General, and involves our compensation. So this past Friday, on August 5th, the commissioners held a special meeting
Okay.
to adopt a resolution that agrees to the terms of the National Opioid Settlement, particularly in relation to the One Ohio subdivision of the Memorandum of Understanding. And this is just for those big three companies that I named earlier. There's a separate settlement for Johnson & Johnson, and there are separate settlements for the smaller pharmaceutical supply chain companies.
Well, I was gonna say, 'cause, I mean, you've got like the Pfizer and
Yeah.
you know all of that stuff out there too. I would have to think.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a multi-billion-dollar settlement, but it's spread out across the entire country. So exactly the dollar amount that we're going to see locally from these three big companies is probably, I've been told, I haven't seen anything concrete, but I've been told that the actual amount just through this settlement with the three big companies is going to be close to $1 million, somewhere in the $900 and some $1,000 range. But that money's spread out over an 18-year period. So, I mean, that's
Wait,
better than
is
nothing.
that for our county?
Yeah,
Is
that's
that just
for Jackson County. Yeah. To which
All right, hold on.
does that constitute, justice? Probably not. But then that's just direct payments. So there's going to be another portion.
That's $50,000 a year.
50. Yeah. Thanks, guys. That helps. But that's just about 30%
Buy
of
gas
that money.
for a county,
Yeah.
the plow truck.
Yeah. Yep.
Woo! Okay.
And then, another portion of this money I've heard is going to be made available through the state as competitive grants. So there's the opportunity for more of an influx of cash into the county. But does it compensate for what happened? No, not at all. Not at all.
So is any of the money earmarked for drug, rehabilitation or anything of that nature?
It's named in the actual agreement that the commissioners just signed that this money is supposed to be used to fight what this whole lawsuit was about in the first place, which is, the abuse of opioid medications.
Well, I can tell you $50,000 a year isn't going to get you very far on that.
No. And this comes on the heels of news that Jackson and Vinton County are both in the top 10 in the state of Ohio for overdose deaths in 2021. Now, that doesn't only involve opioids or opiates, or,
Sure.
That's any drug. But per capita, Vinton County came in at number 2 in the entire state of Ohio.
No way.
Yeah. They came in at number 2 with 45.9 overdose deaths per 100,000 people. So Vinton County only has 15, 16,000 people in their county.
Yeah.
So they break it down that way, but that's the only way you can keep it even amongst all the counties.
Holy moly.
And Jackson came in at 6 with 33.9 overdose deaths per 100,000 people just for this year. This year's not even over yet. And at the top is Lawrence County with 55.5 overdose deaths per 100,000. And every one of the top 10 were in this part of the
I was going to
state.
say you're going to have Scioto County, you're going to have some of the, our surrounding counties are going
Ross,
to be the ones.
Pike.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's always been that way. Since this thing really kicked off, which has been all the way back to about 2006, 2007, when the opioid crisis really got underway. And if you ever want to find out more about that, then I suggest you go talk to our municipal court judge, Mark Music, who would know more about that than I could ever know.
100%. And, Mark's doing his best
He is.
with the drug court. And what an amazing program that is.
Mm-hmm.
We really need to get them in here to talk more about that and, some of the alternatives that there are to just throwing people in jail.
Right.
And he's working hard toward that.
Mm-hmm. And this is just me scratching the surface of this because I had to throw this together this morning just to be able to say anything about it at all. But I will have to go down and talk to the judge. He's got figures waiting on me now about our overdose and suicide death rates from this year and last in relation to people being in isolation due
Yes.
to COVID-19, having access to money that they normally wouldn't have had access to. That really jumped up the numbers a lot.
And for example, the drug court, that is a support mechanism for a lot of folks, and it holds them accountable because they have to be tested every week.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. When you have a global pandemic and you can't have that, people are on their own and they're just floundering around with no support mechanism whatsoever, and
money in their pocket.
and money in their pocket, and bad things happen.
Yeah, it was a recipe for disaster.
For sure.
So there's a big story with this. There's a lot more to it than I could bring up right now, but I'm going to get on that this week, and hopefully we'll have probably more than one part of a story coming up in the Telegram, because this is way more than I could put into 1,000 or so words. So we'll see how this comes out.
Oh man, that's well, it's an interesting story, and it's kind of like everything else. When you break it down, you say, okay, $50,000 a year for 18 years, like, come on. But I guess it's something, and to those big pharmaceutical companies, that had to hurt a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars that they're going to be paying out once all's said and done. But there's no amount of money that you could throw at something like this to bring back someone's kid, or
No.
people that have
Or
already
parent,
died.
or brother, sister, whatever.
So I can only imagine how somebody like that feels in the face of something like this. I mean, it is some sort of a rectification, but it's in no way indicative of justice at all. It's
You're
at least
right.
getting people's eyes and ears open to the situation, but
Well,
throwing money at something like that isn't really going to do anything anyway. Hopefully, we'll branch out into more programs and the availability of help for people that need it. But yeah, there's a lot more work that needs to be done, because obviously it hasn't slowed down any. We're still seeing higher and higher numbers of people that are overdosing every day. And then you have to consider the people that, now that we have Narcan, that get saved, 2 and 3 times a week even.
sure.
So how many overdoses have been saved through that? And that puts a strain on the already strained emergency medical service personnel that we have in this county, which, like everything else that we have, is a small group of people that are tasked with trying to keep up with car accidents and fires, and on top of going out to save somebody's life that overdosed on drugs. So it's going to take everybody working together to try to figure out how we can solve this problem.
So, as part of the settlement, have the drug companies pulled back on production
That I'm not sure
of
of.
this, of the
I-
narcotics?
I think, now this is just me thinking here, but I think that there was a cap put on the amount that they were able to distribute or even manufacture, but that's one of the things I'll have to figure out through my digging. But I think I remember that being part of the stipulations.
Because if they continue to do what they're doing, then we're going to continue to get what we're getting.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
And the bad part of it is, even now that, a lot of these overdose deaths aren't really pain pills now. It's what people have since turned to.
sure, it's
It's heroin, it's fentanyl,
Fentanyl,
it's a
yep.
combination of all, it's meth, it's all that. It's that lower price stuff that's easier to get a hold of.
yep.
So whether or not they slow down their production of these, that would be a good step in the right direction, but the damage is already done, and people have moved on to more available, cheaper drugs,
Sure.
unfortunately.
Yeah, pills are expensive.
Absolutely.
You can buy, which I still don't understand. Who was the first person that decided I'm going to take Drano and Sudafed and some other stuff and cook it down and inject it into myself? Like, who was that person?
They were Nazis, and they invented methamphetamine for their tank drivers so that they would be alert and ready to kill. That's where meth came from.
That's exactly right. And again, though, who was the first person that came up with that? Yeah. So it's bizarre, and a lot of these drugs can be made at home.
Yeah.
And that's where we definitely get into the problem for sure. And it's very sad. There's kids involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are blowing their houses up.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there are still people that need that kind of medicine. So, I mean, there's a huge stigma attached to that now. If you really need it, you probably feel about this big every time you have to go to the doctor
Well,
to get
good
it.
God, you go to the pharmacy to buy some Sudafed, and you feel like a hardened criminal because they, want your license, and they write your stuff down in a book, and I mean, it's just I don't know, you just have this like guilty, I swear I'm going to take it because my nose is stuffy. Like, I just have a cold, man. I swear.
I've been there. The last time I had to get actual Sudafed, yeah, I felt like I was a criminal.
You do. And so, yeah. And God forbid that you want to buy some whiteout or some acetone fingernail polish remover, because same thing.
Yeah. Oh, well.
The stuff we get carded now for is absolutely absurd.
Yeah, it is.
But it's all because somebody's abused it for something else. Like, what are people doing with whiteout?
I didn't even... What?
Yeah, I've gotten carded for whiteout before.
I didn't know that was a thing.
All right, college girl, do you know? I'm glad she doesn't know.
I'm glad she doesn't know, too.
Yeah. Next thing you know, it's going to be gasoline and everything else. So, but no, speaking of what you were just talking about, there is there's an initiative where it's called why can't I just can't spit it out. Project Dawn. Whew. It's the Community Action Committee of Pike County, and they're basically trying to get Narcan at no cost to people within our communities, because of what you were just talking about, and that is, trying to save people's lives as they have overdosed. Project Dawn is named in memory of Leslie Dawn Cooper, who struggled with substance use disorder and died from a witnessed opioid overdose. So they're trying to get the Narcan out to people, and that is through the Community Action Committee of Pike County. So you can get a hold of them. And basically what they want people just to carry it around. And if you happen to see somebody overdosing or whatever, you might be in the right place at the right time.
Yep.
Even if it's a total stranger,
Mm-hmm.
that you could save their lives. So, I don't know. And
And
that's a whole other story. Do you what's the liability of jumping in and
Yeah.
Narcanning someone that you don't know?
Yeah. And there's been a lot of backlash anytime it's announced around here that Narcan's being given out for free,
Yep.
because people want to know why they have to pay for their insulin and, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing of it is, the people that you need to
it's
be
kind
mad
of a
at,
fair question.
it is, but the people that people need to be mad at are these three companies I just named earlier and the other pharmaceutical companies that upcharge people for insulin and other life-saving medications. This has nothing to do with the health department or community action
No.
or the people that are using the drugs that they need the Narcan for. Any way you can save somebody, I think you should do it. And I think it all should be free. I think that you should have at least a lot lower prices for things that save people's lives, like insulin. But we're not the ones making these prices. I think that we need to direct our attention and anger toward where it actually belongs.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole system's kind of screwy, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
And it's going to take a people a lot smarter than you or I
Yeah.
to figure out how to do that. I have a couple of other things too that I wanted to tell you all about, since I have them here. And this is a really cool thing, and I actually had thought about signing up for this. There's a seminar, and basically it's called it's to learn about the Whale Done coaching process. And the Whale Done process is based upon training materials by best-selling author Ken Blanchard. It focuses on how to effectively build trust and honesty with employees when providing coaching feedback on their performance. Result is happier employees that feel respected, appreciated, and trust their supervisors. And it's a workshop that's going to be held August 25th, so coming up, at the Ohio Means Jobs Career Center, 1 to 3, and that's in Piketon. And if you want to sign up for that, you can call 740-289-2371, and they ask that you register beforehand because they have limited space on that. But, that's kind of, anytime you can make yourself a better person or a better leader, I think that's a good good deal.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and there's also a student loan workshop, and that is 5 to 7 p.m. Same place, Ohio Means Jobs Career Center. And that's August 18th, taught by Tracy Bryce, who's an instructor at Shawnee State, and she's going to be, or he, instructing the workshop covering types of student loans, the FAFSA, grants, payment options, discharges, forgiveness, and scholarships. And it's at no cost to anyone that wants to attend, but you do have to register required. Ashley Stewart, 740-289-2371. So there you go. A couple of things coming up that could be very beneficial to folks as well.
Definitely.
Anytime you can learn something, it's a good thing.
I agree.
So, did anybody head on over? Do we have some pictures from the Marquee? Did anyone? I didn't get to go. Did you guys get to go? No. Oh, you were shopping. That's right. So, our good friend Justin Gambino was played at the Marquee on Saturday night, and I think someone gave us some pictures to show, so Miss Jenna can put those up there. There he is, rocking it out on the stage. And I hope that you got to go and enjoy, because those are really good pictures. Who took those? Don't know. Those are very good.
Those are good.
There's the cello player he was talking about. That they met. He just showed up here in Jackson and was like, I'm going to play for you. And if you don't like me, you can send me away. And now they became best friends.
I got a text from Judge Music.
Oh, you did?
And he said he would love to come talk with you
Oh, yes.
about all this. And he said that our numbers here in Jackson County are higher than what I had mentioned earlier, even. So,
Even more so now.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he said he also would welcome the ability to rid the bond thing of cash and go strictly by safety, as safety is what should be considered most anyway.
That would make sense.
Yeah. So hopefully we can get him in here.
Okay.
He is more knowledgeable than I ever could be on a topic like that. So I think that would be a good thing.
You know, we've had Judge Music on the show a few times, and he is an amazing wealth of knowledge
Yeah,
and
he is.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's been there and done that, and I love his approach that it's not just throw everybody in jail. It's like, let's try this rehabilitation thing first with drugs, and then, you know what? Then you deserve what you get after that. But
Yep.
you're given a second chance first
Mm-hmm.
here in this county, and I think that that's, for the most part, and I think that that's pretty fantastic.
It is.
And it is outside of the box thinking about a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's what it takes.
really appreciate him for that, because it's a, you know, it's easier just to probably just throw everybody in jail.
Oh, yeah.
But he also understands that we don't have the space and the cost and all of that involved in it.
And he's a huge proponent for us getting more jail space, because in some of these instances, that's the only way you can save these people from themselves, is to get them away
Correct.
from the people that are providing them with these drugs,
Yes,
and get them out of their, comfort zone.
their environment.
But then to not just throw them away and leave them there. I mean, jail, like he has always said, is just it's one cog in the wheel of getting these people better.
Sure.
But you have to have that option, and unfortunately here lately we haven't really had that option,
Right.
which probably attributes a lot to the higher numbers of overdose deaths, because, I mean, I know for a fact that all these local police departments are going 2 and 3 hours one way to take these people to, out of county prisons, because
Yeah.
we don't have any space here.
Well,
we have no space for females at
I
all.
was going to say, and we don't even have a female
No.
place.
Nope.
So, yeah, I mean, the expense of that is insane.
And he's been he's been at the forefront of the discussion to get, if jail space is just not something that we can afford at the moment, to go a different route with the Community Alternative Sentencing Center, which could have on-site mental health and substance abuse treatment providers. And it's a place where you could not necessarily have to be in lockdown all day long. You could go out, if you have a job, you could go out and do things in the community, even do community service, what have you. It's like a jail, but not under such strict guidelines through the state government and the federal government. But you have to find a place to do that. We had the funding lined up. It was a sure thing right before COVID hit.
How
And
much of that? How much do you hear of that? Right before, and then there came COVID.
It was, I mean, Governor DeWine was so excited about that project that the judge has, been behind for all these years. And not just him, but, numerous people on that task force that they have, which is a number of people from the community.
Sure.
But they were right there on the heels of having everything they needed. They had a facility that they could have used. The funding was there. It was a sure thing. They had the contracts lined up for the treatment providers, and then COVID hit, and then it all went away.
Well, I'm sure that money had to be allocated for other things.
Right. And the work hasn't stopped. I mean, the people are still adamant about getting this accomplished. It's just that was a big hit. That was a really big hit. To have everything ready right before you and then have it swept away, which
Yep.
no one could have done anything about that. But the work continues, and that's, throughout him trying to do the things he does on a daily basis, he and his staff. So it's a discussion that will continue to be had, and hopefully it can be brought to resolution at some point.
Yeah, and I don't know, this whole COVID thing, just when you think it's going bye-bye, here we go again. And, Jenna just announced to us that she got the word that, at her college, they're going to have to wear masks and things. And, OU, Ohio State, all of those have already, talked about that. And I just feel so bad for the kids that they're just not getting to be kids.
Yeah. My son's going to be in kindergarten this year, and he's going to have to wear a mask.
How's he going to do with that?
I think he'll be fine. I mean, the kid doesn't complain about anything.
They do say the little ones
Yeah.
do pretty well with it. Yeah, so you got, he has the best kid ever.
I
So
do.
you said that you all actually got stuck in the airport with your little guy.
Yeah. We went down to Oskaloosa Island in Florida for a few days recently.
Where is that?
It's down on the Emerald Coast. It's on the Gulf side. It's actually in the Central Time Zone, but it's down around Destin and Fort Walton
Okay.
in that area.
So where did you fly into?
We flew into Fort Walton, and we flew in from Cincinnati. The flight there was fine. Everything, we got there early even. Like, it was
You're like,
perfect.
we're rocking this
Yeah, this is
vacation.
great.
Okay, this is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Perfect. Got checked in early even, but then whenever we went to leave, and Fort Walton Airport's tiny. It's not very big.
Sure.
And
So did you fly Allegiant or one of the other ones?
we flew Allegiant. And this was on
This
the,
whole
this
thing
was
has
the same.
just been a nightmare.
Yeah, and it was the same time when Spirit was
Yes.
having all those delays. So all their flights were delayed.
Spirit canceled half their flights
Yeah.
for like days.
And this place already doesn't have hardly any place to sit. So there are people on the floor. Everybody, you have to wear a mask the whole time you're in there, which I understand because Florida's, a hotbed right now.
Yeah.
So everybody, had to wear a mask. We had to check out of our hotel at like 11 a.m.
Yeah.
I think. We were supposed to be able to start getting on our flight at about 2:30. Okay.
Okay.
So it was already going to be kind of a sit.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't end up getting on the plane until it was starting to get dark out. And so.
Oh my gosh.
And then when we got on the plane, then the pilot had to reroute and come up with a different flight path because there were storms, along the East Coast where we would have normally gone. And then it turns out we went that way anyway because there were other storms coming in from the west. And then had to get to the Cincinnati airport and then drive back to Athens from there. So we didn't get home until the wee hours of the morning the next day. And that kid didn't complain not one time. Not a bit. The only thing I think he said is when he was hungry and I had to go pay $40 for a turkey sandwich or whatever it was. But
right.
he didn't.
Aw.
He didn't complain not a bit.
How
He's a
old is
trooper.
he?
He'll be 6 in November.
What a good guy.
Yeah, I know. I was impressed. I was not such a good kid that day.
I know. He's like trying to parent you, right?
Pretty much,
Like,
yeah.
Dad, calm down.
Yeah.
No, my gosh, Jamie and I's anniversary is August 12th, and so last year it was our 20th. So I was like, we're gonna do. Well, that didn't work because we weren't gonna do anything during COVID. So this year I was like, well, then we'll do something cool this year. And then I'm still not feeling like I want to, go take off and do anything like extravagant, right? Because I just don't. I feel like if you're going to spend the money and do something really cool, you want to get all the benefits of it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to have to. So then I was like, well, maybe we could just fly to Florida or whatever for a couple of days or whatever, something. And then all these plane cancellations and stuff started. I was like, just forget it. I'm just going to stay in my house. I don't even care.
We both wish we would have stayed in our house because when we made the plans for this, it was when, we made this vacation plan back months in advance.
Sure.
Because that was when everything started to like ease up and we're like, now we can do this.
Right. You're like,
So
we're good to go now.
I felt super guilty to even go because I was like, we're going to like probably the worst area for COVID right now. And then we're going to come home and we're bringing a 5-year-old with us. But we'd already spent, the tickets were bought, the hotel was booked, so we did it.
So what did you do? Did you take any precautions when you're down there? Now, Florida is one of those states where the governor's like,
It's
no,
it's a
like,
free-for-all.
You don't do anything.
Yep. There were some people that had masks on, like in the hotel restaurant or,
Okay.
But for the most part, not very many people had masks on. So we were like we were stuck out like sore thumbs because we had masks on because we knew we had to come home.
Sure.
But for the most part, that beach isn't very crowded. It's not like when you go to Myrtle Beach or whatever and you're just elbow to elbow with people. So there was plenty of room to space out, and it was a really big hotel complex. So there was plenty of room for everybody to have their own space.
That's good.
Yeah. So it wasn't nearly as bad as what I had thought it was going to be.
Well, the good news about like beach vacations is you can go find your own little space on the sand somewhere and just, keep your little family together.
Yeah.
So that, I guess if you're going to take a vacation, that's probably a good one.
Yeah, it worked out, but yeah.
But no, I'm sorry about the flight thing. That is so now it's like I have some friends that were down in the Keys and they made it down and then their flight got canceled and you don't just pick up another flight in like Key West. Like
No.
It's not that easy. Because again, their airport is this big.
It is so small. I couldn't believe how small.
Yeah.
And I guess what really got the plane delayed in the first place was there was something wrong with the brakes. And so
well, you kind of need those.
Yeah, they had to fix it right there on the runway. And then the way they explained it after the fact was, well, it's close enough to meeting all the standards that we needed it to. So I just figured we were going to die. But at that point, I kind of welcomed it. So
You're like, I'm either going to die here in this airport of boredom or I'm going to die on the plane. So either way, let's get going.
yeah, pretty much.
Oh my gosh. I remember one time, this was the funniest thing, and I couldn't believe that they did it. So we were getting ready to go on a cruise, and so we're at the Cincinnati airport, and the main problem with cruises is you better get there on time because the boat's leaving without you.
Yeah.
So that's always like the biggest stressor of the entire thing is making sure your plane gets going and you get there on time and whatever. So we get to the airport and we're sitting there and all of a sudden comes the delayed thing and we're like, okay, like, all right. So it was had like a delayed like 50 minutes or whatever. And we're like, all right. So then that comes around and nothing. So finally, I swear this happened. The pilot comes out of the airplane onto the, like where you check in and they've got like the loudspeaker thing. And he's like, all right, folks, we got a decision to make. And we're like, and everyone's like listening. And everyone just want to get on the plane and get to Florida. And he's like, we don't have any bathrooms. They're not going to fix the bathrooms. They can't fix the bathrooms. Do you want to go anyway? And everyone was like, yeah. He's like, all right, I'm just telling you, we got no bathrooms. But it was a direct flight, 2 hours or whatever, to Florida. And everyone was like, let's go. So we just went to Florida with no bathrooms. I can't believe that's probably not even.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that's illegal. But, hey,
But,
you got to Florida, though.
But we did, and because I think he knew. Like, I mean, they know. Like, you've got all these cruise people dependent on getting there. And so I'm like, I don't care. I don't, like, everybody squeeze it out before you get on. Like, I don't know what to tell you, but let's go.
Yep.
So we went. So you just never know about planes, but no, the storm thing's a little creepy too because you're like up in the air and you're like,
He spent a long time.
where are we gonna go?
Yeah, he spent a long time like rerouting, and then just went the way he initially planned to go in the first place after an hour. I don't know why. I don't remember. At that point, I didn't care. I would have
You just wanted to get
jumped
home.
out and aimed for Ohio at that point, but we got there thanks to that guy. He was a nice guy. I'll say that. The first pilot, not so much, but that second one, you could tell he was more of an empathetic person. He understood how upset people were having to sit
Sure.
in the floor with a mask on for 5 hours,
Right.
6 hours, however long it was.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, most people want to take. I was talking to a friend the other day, and they had flown out to like Washington, and she was like, "It's almost worth," because you know you always want a direct flight if you can get a direct flight,
Yeah.
right? So you don't have to. But she's like, "It's almost worth, like, doing a connection so that you can take that freaking mask off for a minute instead of having like a 4.5 hour direct flight." So I don't know. It's a big old mess, but so yeah, needless to say, I didn't book a flight after all of that. I was like, okay, the gods are trying to tell me something here.
Oh, it's going to be a long time before I ever do that again.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Parker had a blast, and that's all I was really concerned about. We had
Sure.
fun, I mean, while we were there.
Yeah.
But that experience there at the end undid any relaxation I experienced the 3 days prior.
He's literally still uptight about this
Oh,
whole
I am.
thing.
I probably will be forever. I can't help it.
So I see him like the next day, and he's just like, and he's still talking about poor guy.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Well, as long as your son had fun, that's all that matters.
He did. He had a blast. So I'm glad he got to get on an airplane for the first time, see the ocean for the first time, watch his dad almost explode for the first time. Lots of good memories.
Poor guy. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, before we get out of here, let's do the weather. Jenna has that pulled up, and it is hot, hot, hot this week. And guess what? On top of the hot, we get rain, so it's going to be muggy and hot.
Nice.
You know, even better. So looking like 88 today as a high. Tonight, 50-50 chance of rain. And then like through Thursday, 50-50 chance of rain and highs around 90. They're calling for those heat indexes to be in the upper 90s, which means it's going to feel as if it's in the upper 90s. So there you go. That humidity is going to be a nightmare. So hopefully, as the week rolls around, we'll get some cooler temperatures toward the weekend.
I hope.
Fingers crossed.
And if we do have an Apple Festival this year, I hope that the weather is the same as it was with what would have been the Apple Festival last year, because it was perfect.
Oh my gosh,
It was
I
cool.
know.
It felt like fall.
It would have been, yeah. And, you know, honestly, our county fair this year, Jackson County Fair especially, had some really good weather. So
Yeah.
if we could just get that. How about we get sunny and 72 every day
I'll
for the
take
Apple
that.
Festival?
I'll take that.
I'd be very happy with that.
Yes.
That's
Indeed.
what we're ordering.
Yeah.
right
I'm putting
now.
in the order now. Yeah.
Yes.
We'll see what happens.
And then I always like the Apple Festival because it's that first night, that first week, it seems like where you put on the sweatshirt or your jacket or whatever.
That was always how it was. Whenever it was Apple Festival time, it got cool, and you knew that fall was coming. But anymore, it's just an extension of summer.
Yeah,
So-
you just never know. Stupid global warming. All right. Well, is there anything else you wanted to tell the viewers about? Any other stories you're working on?
I haven't forgotten about the homelessness thing.
Okay.
I'm still going with that. I know that they recently in Wellston found a homeless encampment back behind General Mills.
Okay.
I mean, these people had, you could tell they had been there for a while.
Yeah.
And I mean, they had a really complex setup out there. They've been there for a while, and that ties directly in with the drug abuse thing, because they found, in addition to all their amenities, numerous items of drug paraphernalia. And so these stories will kind of work in unison and go in and out of each other. So we'll see
Sure.
where it goes. But I haven't forgotten about that. That's in addition to the day-to-day things. Like tonight, there's a Jackson Council meeting, there's a Colton Council meeting, there's a Commissioners meeting tomorrow morning, Jackson School Board meeting tomorrow night. So we have all that extra stuff coming in addition to our normal beats. So I'm always hard at it, and I'll be bringing out some of these more in-depth stories, like the opioid settlement and, like I said, the homelessness situation.
Okay.
So there'll be more coming.
All right. Well, thank you for your hard work.
No problem.
We appreciate it very much.
They
You
pay
and-
me, so hey.
It's kind of what you get paid to do.
Yeah.
But no, it is, you can do the bare minimum or you can do what you guys do. And you guys really get out and hit the streets. And it's much appreciated
Thank
from
you.
the community.
Thank you.
All right. Well, got to get out of here for the day. We hope that you've enjoyed the show. Talked a little about news and this, that, and the other. And tomorrow we have
Nothing on the schedule.
nothing on the schedule. So we'll see who we can round up tomorrow. So
Probably Phil again.
maybe Phil again.
You never know. I'm the last resort.
Darn that John for retiring, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. And we'll be right back here tomorrow. So have a great day.